Hey everybody. Last night we got a huge teaser from Jagex and it was so big I couldn't sleep on it for too long. I had to wake up early and get this video to you right before work. So let's get right into it. Alright, so today I'm going to go over the images. So if you don't know, there was a video ad on Facebook that spoiled pretty much every single relic. You can see a little animation here. It pretty much shows you a quick snapshot of every single relic that it's going to be available to us. So I'm going to go over the relic images. I'm going to talk quickly on the known relics just to say that, hey, these are the ones we already know. And then I'm going to go over some predictions from Discord. And then I'm going to review kind of each of the relics individually, kind of compare them to previous leaks or what my prediction for each of them are. And then lastly, I'm going to wrap up for a new updated tier prediction with some information that I didn't have last time. So let's get right into it. All right, so these are images. Huge shout out to Reddit. A bunch of different users had different variations of cleaned up images. I think this was the cleanest one, so I pulled this one in. Overall, really good. You can see a bunch of the relics. The images that are perfectly symmetrical and evenly cut with high quality, those are the ones we already know. So you can see in tier 1, the tier 4, and then the one in tier 5 and one in tier 7. Those are not the real tiers. Just want to let you know, these are not officially announced tiers except for the tier 1 and the Globetrotter in tier 2. So just keep that in mind. But these are the known relics, so it's been really helpful. So tier 1 we have Endless Harvest, Production Prodigy, Trickster, and tier 2 we know of Globetrotter, and they kind of tease Fairy Fire because they kind of cut off the screenshot just at the top tip, and like the lettering kind of lines up. But I'm not going to put it here until it's hard confirmed. And then we don't know the tiers for the combat relics, but we do know that there's Brawler's Resolve, Archer's Embrace, and Superior Sorcerer. And then we've seen 2 utility relics as well, Banker's Note and Undying Retribution. One is more of like a skilling and combat kind of utility, like a general utility, Banker's Note. Undying Retribution is specifically a combat utility relic. All right. So quick disclaimer here, the next following slides, they are not official facts. They're just speculations and guesses. If you're watching this video way closer to leagues and we have a ton more information, please just go to the wiki and check that out. But for now, it's time to finally, get into some speculations and start theory crafting of what they are and what they could be, right? Cool. So these are some predictions from Discord. I'll, just show these slides really quick so you can pause the screen and kind of read them. If you didn't, follow the crazy Discord infinite scrolling chat, I got some snapshots for you here. Shout out to both the users, Kay here and then Masu here for their ideas and their predictions. I have my own predictions kind of based off of some of these. So just kind of keep that in mind and we'll get into mine in a second. But again, thankfully the Discord has been really on top of these and kind of shortlisting them for us so we can kind of get into it. All right, so these are the ones that are the unknown relics. We have 2 in potentially tier 2. We have 3 potential unknowns in tier 3, a bunch in tier 5, 6, and 7. And again, these tiers could change. We don't know exactly where these relics are going to fit. But that's kind of the speculations that I pulled from that first image that we got from Discord, and I kind of just kept the unknowns here. So let's break down each one. So this one is almost all guaranteed to be Fairy's Flight. We saw like in the last picture that they had cut off the top of the letters, so you could kind of see the Fairy's Flight lined up with it. This picture looks very similar to the previous Trailblazer picture. Pretty much it's going to give you a mushroom that's going to give you access to fairy rings right out of your inventory, so you don't need the Drahman staff anymore or anything else. This is pretty much going to be a competitor with Globetrotter, and most likely it's going to be a tier 2 relic. We don't know anything about this $sign relic. So tier 2 in my speculation was teleportation, but we see this image, and so could it be a way to kind of just teleport to any specific store? That could be really powerful because it could just bring you to a specific store in a specific region, so you can use it as like a certain region teleport, a certain area teleport. Imagine like for Al-Kharid, you could teleport to like the skirts, the chain skirt store, right? That's much closer to the Shanty Pass if you needed to get there to the lower half of Al-Kharid than the Glory teleport or the PvP arena teleport. So this might be that. It might be some sort of banking utility thing. We've already seen Banker's Note, and the relic picture was not this one, so I'm not really sure what this is. I'm pretty skeptical on this being some sort of like compulsive shopper relic that Discord has been teasing, like a way to discount the shop prices. But we don't know. But I'm thinking it's going to be a tier 2 relic, and so let's just kind of keep that in mind, and it might be another teleportation use case. All right, Treasure Seeker. So this relic is pretty much almost identical in images to the previous Treasure Seeker we had. This one pretty much drops clue scrolls more often. They become stackable. Now stackables for everyone, so I'm thinking that's gone and maybe we have some other buffs. It'd be really cool to buff clues to have one less step, right? That's really going to make clues insanely powerful and really force, you clue goers to pick this relic, almost guaranteed. So we don't know the details yet, still speculation, but it's most likely going to be a Treasure Seeker relic. Cool. This is a brand new image, and Discord was really leaning towards this being unnatural selection. It does have that kind of like, hey, I'm slaying a monster slayer kind of vibe to it. So it does, the image actually makes more sense to be a slayer relic than maybe like the finger one. The finger is clearly pointing out that you can choose your slayer monster, and that's why it's so powerful. Slayer superior monsters have already been buffed, so that's kind of given to everyone. So I hope this relic has a little bit more than that, but I do agree with Discord that this is probably going to be an unnatural selection kind of relic. Infernal Gathering. We've seen this image before. We're seeing it right back. This is the tools that I really am excited about. I told you, in my last video that it kind of combos with, the last relics that were teased, and that way I can kind of just train fire making and wood cutting at the same time. Don't have to worry about banking all the logs with Endless Harvest, and then that way I can just kind of, once I get this unlocked, just AFK train 2 skills at once, go towards those 50 million goals. That's about it. Pretty straightforward. Equilibrium. Now we've seen this relic before. If you don't know what this is, pretty much at some point it's just going to start giving you way more experience to everything that you're doing. It's a great way to kind of hit that 50 million cap if that's going to be the top tier XP goal that they're going to have this time around. So again, the images are almost identical to what we had before, so keep that in mind. It's a good chance it's going to be Equilibrium. So for all of you skillers and XP chasers, this one's going to be a really good strong one for you. This one, brand new picture, doesn't really align with any of the pictures before. Now those three are pretty much all three farming tools, the seed dibbler, the rake, and then the shovel, right? So I'm really thinking this is pretty much a farming specific relic. Now none of the relics, if you've seen my previous videos, none of the relics really buff farming. This is very likely going to be that. However, it would be rare to see a single skilling relic, right? Compared to combat skills, there's 3 combat styles, but in comparison to that, there's tons of other skills. So most skilling relics boost multiple skills just so they're a lot more valuable. So I would be skeptical to think that this will be just for farming, but there's a chance that like this and the unnatural selection kind of fall in the same category. So it's like, all right, am I gonna pick Slayer or am I gonna pick farming? So that's pretty much like, are you a PVMer or are you a skiller, right? Gonna be that distinction, but who knows? I'm hoping it's going to be a ton of farming updates and power creep for farming, but I'm also hoping it's going to have some secondary effects. Maybe we get some money from farming. Maybe we get some random secondary items from farming. Who knows, right? To be determined. Cool. This one, Weapon Specialist. Now we had a very similar image. The M at the top used to be a double arrow to kind of indicate fast forward or like special attack, faster regeneration, but pretty much this allows, a little bit more damage across the board. And then the fact that you can use special attacks like crazy. Don't forget, we also have the Light Bearer ring now from TOA. So if you are unlocking Desert, that with Weapon Specialist will be insane. You're going to be able to spec constantly all the time. It's going to be really powerful. So that's what I'm thinking this is. Maybe a slightly different, twisted version of it. So, we'll get some information soon. Cool. This one, so there's a heart in this picture, there's some blood droplets, and then there's kind of like these like horns, people are hinting at Zamrock horns or something like that. But to me, I'm really leaning towards draining strikes. There's a heart and there's some blood, so we're kind of draining that towards you, I guess. The image is quite a bit different from Trailblazer, and don't forget, at any time you guys can pause the video and just read through the slides. I'm not going to read them myself, but pretty much anytime you hit monsters, you're going to suck some life back. That's what I'm thinking this one is. That's very powerful. It's great for that, training wheels that I was mentioning, to be able to just not have to eat food and sustain. Now this, if it is draining strikes, then the banker's note of having, infinite food is a little bit less valuable, for example, because you're going to be able to just suck a lot of that life back, and we're going to be hitting really often and really crazy large hits with all the damage boosts that we're getting. So just keep that in mind about how this relic will potentially work with others. Now this relic could be completely something different than what I think it is of draining strikes, and so just keep that in mind. But if it is, that's the kind of synergies I'm trying to think about right now. Cool. The next one. So this one was called Fast Metabolism. We saw this exact picture in Shattered Relics. Pretty much multiplies your health regen by 4. And I think if you had 2 pieces, it multiplied it by 2. But there's no Shattered Relics this time around. It's just the Relics. Unless, the crack theory is a real theory. If you haven't noticed, there are cracks in all the Relics. And people thinking that might indicate something, right? Some sort of shatter that could happen. But no, the image aligns exactly with that. So I'm really hoping they're bringing back Fast Metabolism. Again, this goes right back to the comment I made earlier about training wheels. This is a great way to kind of keep your HP up. But that said, again, banker's note, if you're unnoting food, but you're healing 4 times as fast, maybe it's not as valuable, right? This is going to be great for things like Winter Tot, things that give you, slow poison damage over time, small little hits here and there. You're going to be able to not worry about them because you're just going to be regening so much faster. I believe this stacks with the regen cape and the regen bracelet. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember the exact details. Personally, I really like the name Inner Fire, just because, it's like a burning heat that's healing you so fast, right? So hopefully they change the name, but let's see what it is. Hopefully we'll find out soon. Okay, this one, Discord has absolutely no idea what this one is. I saw one that was a really good speculation, so I'm going to kind of agree with that one person, where it's some sort of action speed, tick manipulation, swiftness, right? You see this axe, and it's got this like huge wave because it's going so fast, right? And maybe it's some way to say, hey, your action speeds for everything are reduced by a tick. So that includes like your mining, your chopping, the wood cutting, your combat. I don't think so. I think this is going to be a skilling utility relic. But that would be insane, right? That just means everything you do is just a little bit faster. But who knows? We'll find out soon. Okay. So we had this relic, or a similar kind of shield animation in Shattered Relics. This is Absolute Unit. This is probably my favorite training wheel because it pretty much just allows you to take hits. And remember, just because we're going to mitigate a lot of the damage doesn't mean you shouldn't be learning and trying to improve. Just kind of keep track of like the damage you're taking when you're fighting monsters, and just try to make sure that you're not taking as much because you're doing the right prayers and things like that. But if we do get Absolute Unit back, that's going to reduce a lot of the damage incoming, so Jad won't be able to one-shot you or close to one-shot you. It'll be a 2-shot most likely. Also, you're going to reflect all that damage back, so that's just going to make it faster to kill a Jad. Now, if you're learning and you're trying to get better at Jad, don't use this to just kill Jad by eating and reflecting all the damage. So you bring Bang Note, you bring this, you just eat a ton of food constantly, and you just reflect all the damage back, right? That is a strategy you can do, and you can kind of cheese Jad that way. But if you're like me and you're going to be trying to learn the game, don't do that, right? I'm also thinking that hopefully they kind of change up the name here. There is a little fire, so they change up the symbol a little bit. Maybe Infernal Skin. Maybe when monsters attack you, we give them a burning passive damage over time effect back, right? That could be a really cool effect instead of reflecting, that 100% damage. It could be something like that. They could change it up, but we'll see. All right, so we've covered all the relics that have been spoiled from the picture so far. Now, I do have some updates on my predictions. So there was this post from Arcane saying that there are no combat relics at tier 3. So my previous prediction from the Spoiler 5 video said that combat was at tier 3. Now I've kind of updated that to push combat out to tier 4. I'm a little bit upset at that just because if it's not a tier 3, that means you can't start doing combat. Like, you can start doing combat things, but you can't really get into content until you lock tier 4. Now, that shouldn't be such a large hurdle. I don't think it was too big of a hurdle last time either. But just keep that in mind that, hey, you might want to do some more skilling and other things earlier on, and then get to combat a little bit later at tier 4 instead of tier 3, right? Once you unlock the combat relics. That said, I've kind of updated my predictions for 5, 6, and 7. I'm seeing this kind of trend of like utility relics across everything, right? So Banker's Note is a utility relic that's for skilling, but it also works for combat, and I don't really know where that's going to lie. But we're not seeing direct combat relics. We've already seen those spoiled, so your mage, range, and your melee, those are confirmed. So I'm guessing 5, 6, and 7 are going to be this weird like heal, protect, defense, combat utility, or improve your skills overall around the board, kind of thing. So this is what I'm predicting. Let's see what actually comes out. Hopefully in the next few days and over the weekend, we're going to get all the spoilers for the relics, and then we can get into strategizing and making our plan. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really sorry that today's thumbnail is not going to be super exciting, but I really appreciate you guys watching. It's been a fun one. I'm glad to just wake up early and get this video out to you. And if you like the video, definitely give it a like. If you want to follow along for more updates, subscribe. And if you have any thoughts and your predictions, leave a comment below. And don't forget, I think I'm going to be planning on streaming Twitch, so definitely leave a follow so you know when I'm live for League launch. Take care.